Hi, everybody. Joe Grushkin from the National Association of Local Businesses, and I am here with the Top Performer Conference and Training. And for those of you who are here, thank you so much for joining us. And those of you who are joining us in recorded land, thank you for being here. Today, we're going to be discussing how to be a top performer and how to generate $200,000 of income in an annual year. And it all starts with the knowledge that that is very capable and very real. So I'm going to be sending out anybody who has attended and anybody who has requested and purchased the video. We'll be sending out the handout that I'm going to be going over. I'll be showing some screenshots as well. But please take notes as we're going through this so that you'll be able to keep your thoughts clear. And then at the end, we'll open it up for any questions you have. Okay, so I'm joined by Lenny and Bob, who have joined us live. And if they have any questions as we go, I'm sure they can bring them up. And but just hold your questions to the end. So jot them down because it may get answered as we go through the process. We're going to keep this as short as possible, but we're going to take as much time as we need to make sure that the topics are well fleshed out and interesting, and most importantly, give you all the information you need to get yourself not only started, but on a higher trajectory to the higher levels of this business. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to be showing you, the first thing I'd like to do is talk about the types of businesses that we have that we could go out and see. Let me just get this open so I have it on my screen. Hang on. And I want to show you that I came up with can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I came up with a list of about 50 business categories that we could call on. Now, in doing this, I was thinking about these categories, and what's cool about this is if you just get one ad in half of these categories, it will bring you close to where you need to be. And if you have 3 co-ops going on and they're in 3 different co-ops, you're at that solid 6-figure income that I've been talking about. So the first thing I want you to see is that we broke it down into categories of, trades, service providers, pet care, things like that. But within the trades, you have plumbers, electricians, landscapers, painters. You could go through this. I'm sure there's some that aren't on this list that can be added. If you see them, make a note of, if you think of one, make a note of it. And the way we should be approaching these different categories is by focusing on calling, all the plumbers in that town or the surrounding towns until you get one. Then move on to electricians until you get one. Then move on to landscapers until you get one. And keep focusing on different categories so that you're talking to the same type of people all the time. This way, when you're talking to a plumber, you can say, look, I'm looking for one plumber to join the co-op. Would you like to be that plumber? No? Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking for a plumber to join the co-op. Would you like to be that plumber? No? Thank you very much. Yes? Great. Now I'm going to start calling electricians. It's also about creating urgency so that the different category industries or the different trades or the different people who are in the categories, if they hear that there's urgency in your voice and in your process, they will take on that urgency as well. So I've come up with this list of about 50 different service providers. And as you can see, there's everything from snow removal to pool cleaning to home cleaning, nanny service, tutoring, kids activities, ice skating, roller skating, dog grooming, veterinarian, urgent care, pet sitting, house sitting, handyman services, etc. There's also all kinds of spas, crafts, medical, food service of all different flavors and styles. And if you focus on each of these categories with the goal of getting at least one in each. Now, one begets another. So if you get a pizza guy and the pizza guy sees the ads in the co-op, he's going to say, hey, I don't want Luigi to get all my business. So Joe's Pizza is going to join as well. And they're going to call you. And that's really the way this is designed to work. Once you get this launched, other advertisers will catch on. It might take a month or so, but they will catch on. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that you need to avoid certain areas, certain categories. There's certain categories that are not allowed to be advertised on Facebook and other platforms. For instance, pot dispensaries, head shops, vape shops, adult entertainment and products, guns and ammo, things like that are no-fly zones for social media advertising. And if we're advertising a website that has it on there, we could be banned from doing that. So we want to stay away from the no-fly zone. This is also why we have an application for our advertisers to make sure that they are qualified, what their industry and their products and services, to make sure that they are qualified to be on the platforms that we are advertising on. So it's important to go after, and to reiterate, it's important to go after specific categories. You don't just want to be calling everybody and anybody because it seems kind of daunting. But if you were to do a Google search for pet care in my town, pet care in this community, all the pet care product providers are going to come up. And then you can go through whether it's a pet store or a product provider or a pet food or grooming or medical, whatever it might be, you'll be able to target them and put them into different categories within pet care. For instance, there's pet care grooming, there's pet sitting, there's there's the there's pet products, there's pet activities, all kinds of things out there to engage in, whether it's childcare or home cleaning. You've got office cleaners and home cleaners, and you've got remediation services like water and fire damage. There's all kinds of subcategories to the levels of activity that our service providers provide. So rest assured that we have all kinds of good stuff in there for them to, for you to be able to target different businesses. Anybody have any questions on that before we move on?
No.
Yeah? Okay, good. Bob, I have you muted, so you'll have to unmute to come out.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So the second thing I want to talk about is marketing strategies. Now, the marketing strategies that we're going to talk about are really designed as a sales process. But before I want to get into the marketing strategies, I also want to cover things like how to promote yourself on social media and within your community. And this is something you may want to take some notes on because it's not in my notes. First of all, when you have your personal social media account, Gary Vaynerchuk, who's probably one of the biggest opinion leaders on the internet about social media, and many others have said the same thing, that 5% of the time you should be promoting your business as part of your personal social media presence. That means 1 out of 20 posts. Or if you post stuff about your lifestyle, your food, your kids, your grandchildren, things you're doing, if you're posting those things once or twice a day, you should see 2 posts a month about your business. Now, what's interesting is if I put up something about weight loss, or if I put something up about an anniversary or a birthday, or something about family and friends, I'll get 50 to 200 likes. I post one thing about my business and I see 0 engagement. No likes, no comments, no responses. And I know, you see, the difference is I know that the same people who are liking and commenting and recognizing an anniversary or a weight loss or a, a life activity are also seeing my business post. So subliminally, that's being registered with them. Now, when I post a lot of stuff personally, if I'm at a restaurant and I have a company logoed shirt on, that's a product placement or a logo placement that's going to register with those people who follow me. If they share my post or my video or my comments or my image, that goes with them to the next generation of people watching on social media. So by having your, a logoed shirt, which are all available on the NAOLB site in our store, if you have that, or, usually have the banner up behind me when I'm doing videos. It's out on being used right now at a meeting. But if you have these things in place, it's going to add to your business credibility, to your authority, they call it online. By having an authority online, people will say, when a friend is talking to another friend and they say, I'm looking for a new website, your friend will say, you need to talk to Joe. He does websites, because it's constantly in front of them. It's constantly being registered as part of your authority and who you are. So I think it's important to make sure that you understand that promoting yourself is the job of a laser in your local community. It's not just selling advertising, but it's being the face of the business in that community. Now, this will also lead to other opportunities if you sell other things. You might sell another device or another service or another product or another program. And by doing that, that gets incorporated into your whole presence. But this way, they see you as more than just one thing. I only sell X. Well, if you're part of the National Association of Local Businesses and you have the co-op ads to offer, you're going to be seen as someone who has multiple products and services, and in a way that's going to get them to recognize that you have more to offer. Another thing to do to promote yourself in a marketing strategy is to join as many groups as you can on Facebook. Now, to do this, you can just search Facebook groups, and when you go into Facebook groups, you can say business networking near me, and all the local networking groups will come up. Now, invariably, somebody will put up a post that says, "Hey, drop your website in here and let us know who you are." Well, I love doing that because, one, I put my website in there, but now every time somebody puts their website in, I get notified on my Facebook that so and so commented on that post. And now I have leads to follow up with in my local community to engage with. So you see somebody posting a business in this group, now you can contact them and say, hey, just so you know, we're starting a co-op advertising network. Would you like to get more information? And then send them the email about the co-op. Or maybe it's just a let's get acquainted and find out more about your business. And you find that there's synergies there where you guys can promote each other. So it's just another way to connect with your local community. So join as many groups as you can. The other thing, and the reason why we're having this meeting the week before Thanksgiving, is next Saturday is Small Business Saturday. And it's a great way for you to promote small businesses in your community by putting up a post and saying, hey, Small Business Saturday next week is all about helping local and small businesses. Drop your logo in here and promote your business and support other local businesses. And now you're going to get local people putting in their local business or maybe their favorite local business if they don't own a business. you want to see an example of this, go to Facebook and find my page. And I just promoted something on that today. And a couple of people have already put in their posts, but over time, more will as well. So it's something that you can copy and paste and use for yourself. So it's important to promote yourself as part of this initiative, not just that you're out selling, but you're supporting local businesses, you're making sure that local businesses are benefited, and frankly, you're there to help and support and help them thrive and survive through the next level of activity for themselves. Now, the marketing strategies really go and dovetail into our sales process. And our sales process, as you've studied in the training, if you haven't, please go to the training. But if you've studied in the training, that it starts off with a phone call. I mean, nothing works with email and social media alone. You've got to pick up the phone. Hey, if somebody drops their logo or their domain into a group, you can click on that domain, go to their website, find their phone number, and call them. And when you say, hey, I saw your post on the XYZ group, I'd love to get acquainted and learn more about your business, they will want to talk to you. And then you can engage with them and find out about their business. And then most importantly, share about your business, which is getting them into a advertising co-op. Because if they're promoting their business on social media, they're probably interested in promoting it elsewhere too. They just don't know that the co-op exists yet. And if they do, you're going to find that you're going to be able to pick up customers through that activity. Now, for those of you who were on the sales meeting Monday, you also heard about the new trigger we put into HubSpot. So all you got to do is go down the left-hand side of anybody you've entered into the into HubSpot, see co-op advertising email, send co-op advertising email, change that from blank to yes, and it automatically sends them out an email about the co-op. And then there's another one for follow-up where you can click on that and send them the follow-up. And whether you spoke to them as a decision maker or you spoke to the gatekeeper, you can determine which email you want to send out. So you send out the emails through the triggering process. You can also, if you find their cell phone or get their cell phone, send them a text message. Takes no time to draft the text message, save it in your notes or a file on your phone, and then just copy and paste it in and send it out to 2 or 3 people after you've made contact with them to get them to know about the co-op, link them up to the site, whatever it might be. The other thing is that we just came up with a new one-page a PDF flyer. Bob Anteville gave us a great idea for that. Thank you, Bob. And if you take that, you can download it to your computer. You can then fill in your information, your name, your email, your phone number, and upload your picture to it so they know who you are. This is going to be great for keeping them on file. Maybe you fold them into thirds and just keep them in a folder in your car. And when you go in to pick up a pizza and the owner is there, say, hey, by the way, I'm starting an advertising co-op, would love to have you as an advertiser. Or I have one spot left for pizza places, would you like to take it? Here's a flyer on it. Let me get your email and I'll follow up with you in a day or so. That way you have something to leave behind when you're out shopping, when you get your hair cut, when you pick up your dog from the groomer, when you're out talking to business owners at restaurants or events. Maybe you're, meet somebody for coffee. Now you have something to leave behind and some talking points. So it's a good way to stay engaged with the business owners that you engage with as a direct mail, or you can even, if you want to spend the 55 cents to send an envelope, you can drop it in the mail to somebody who doesn't have email or you can't find their email. Maybe it's a plumber or an electrician and they work out of their home and they have a PO box where you can send them mail. This is another way to engage with people if they don't answer their phone, if they're not responding to your phone and email. Drop them a piece of mail. Believe it or not, it actually still works. The other thing is using it as a walk-in flyer. So the next step in our process is follow-up. And that follow-up is follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. Call, text, call, email, call, email. And you should call until you either get a yes or a no. I mean, sometimes you can call for a week straight and not get anybody, and then, call them at different times of the day. Calling a contractor at 7 o'clock in the morning, their day has started an hour earlier. They're loading up their truck and getting ready to go at that point. Maybe you call them at 6 o'clock at night and when they're just getting home. So it's important to stay on it. And that's the beautiful thing about HubSpot is you can task yourself to follow up at certain times of the day. So you can also leave notes in HubSpot saying, called at 6 a.m., got voicemail. Called at 6 p.m., got voicemail. Called at 12:35 in the afternoon, answered his cell phone but was busy, got his email address, sent email. So you can leave notes in there each time so you can keep track, because as you get down the road and you have hundreds of people in your database and you're circling back to talk to them, you want to make sure that you have good notes so you know what their business does, because if the business is XYZ Enterprises, you don't know whether they're a plumber, an electrician, or a dog groomer. So it's important to have those notes in there, part of their category listing or their profile. But it's important to also keep track of the name of the gatekeeper or the person who answered the phone, and make sure that you're getting this information so you can become their BFF, their best friend forever. And when you call and they answer, they know you. It's, hey Joe, how you doing? Good to talk to you. Or hey Joe, yeah, he's not in. He's been really busy. Okay, when do you think I can catch him, Mary? All right, I'll call back then. And if I miss him again, could you leave him a paper note and let him know that I'd like to talk to him? We're good. We're talking about a 5-minute phone call, Mary. And they tend to want to help you out because you're being friendly, because you're asking them questions about, how's your day going? Okay, crazy weather we're having, or whatever it might be. You're not just going in and treating them like a robot that takes messages, but treat them like a friend, and they will help you. Especially when you're calling 2, 3 times, they'll know you're serious. So the objective to the follow-up process really is to set a 15-minute overview or presentation. I'm going to go into the presentation in a minute because we kind of outline that for you. But if you make 20 calls in a day and do 20 follow-ups in a day, and a follow-up is by phone, email, text, walk-in, direct mail, whatever it might be. It could be that you're talking to them through social media messaging too. Could be that you caught them, you find their personal Facebook page or their business Facebook page and you send them a private text message. There's all kinds of ways to connect with people. Follow up 20 a day. You're going to find that you're going to end up with about 5 presentations per day. Now we're talking 15 minutes. We're not talking driving someplace and having to meet with somebody for an hour. We're talking about a 15-minute presentation. The presentation, if you do 5 presentations in a day, you're going to see at least 1 sale a day coming out of that. These are statistics that are pretty regular in any business, but the formula really does work. Now, let me also put it to you this way. If you do 10 calls and 10 follow-ups and get 2 presentations, it does not equal 1 sale. Okay, so it's going to be a diminishing return at that point, that you have a process where you can, if you're doing the 5 presentations every day, you're going to get that 1 sale. Now, I also want to preface this by saying you're not going to get a sale every day in the beginning. You got to build up a pipeline, and the pipeline is going to have to flow all in one direction. By building up that pipeline, you're going to see, a couple of, maybe a week or so of building up pressure. And maybe it's 2 weeks. Let's call it 2 weeks to be conservative. You spend a whole week making calls. You spend a whole week following up. Then the next week, you start to see 2 or 3 presentations a day. Then the following week, you start to see the 5 presentations. But someone from week 1 became a customer in week 3. Maybe 3 people became a customer from week 1. They became a customer in week 3. And then in week 4, you got 5 people from week 2 and 1 person from week 1 and 1 person from week 3 who becomes a customer in week 4, and there's 5. And then it starts to flow out. So it takes time to build up the pressure to that. But like that pump at the campsite, that wrought iron pump that pulls the water out of the ground, as soon as you stop pumping, the pressure goes down and the water goes down. And then you got to start pumping all over again. So the whole idea is to start out by getting the pressure up and putting 20 people a day into the system. You have 100 the first week, 100 the second week. You're doing those follow-ups 100 a week at a time. You're going to see those 5 presentations a day come out of it. That's only 25 presentations. And you'll see that 1 sale coming out. But the diminishing returns are on the downside, is if you don't build up the pressure on the front end, you'll never have it coming out the back end at the same ratio. So it's important to build up that pressure. Focus in, hey, if you're not interested in making 200 grand a year, I respect that. It's not for everybody. But those that do the 20 contacts a day in the beginning, now the number of contacts will diminish as the number of follow-ups are required. So you'll get, maybe you're following up with 30 people a day and only making 10 new prospecting calls a day in your second or third month. But over time, you're going to see that you're going to have to keep that new blood coming in, that new flow of leads coming in, so that it maintains that 1 sale per day activity out the other side. Does anybody have any questions on the marketing strategy that we discussed about social media and the sales process? If you do, you can unmute and I'll be happy to answer them.
No, Joe, but I do like your analogy of the pump.
The campsite pump. It's all,
Analogy.
I jokingly say you could stand there all day and pump, 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 and as soon as you quit, little kid walks up with a little plastic bucket, hits it 1 time, and the water flows out.
That's because all your hard work. That's
Right.
the next salesman who walks in the door.
Exactly. It's the slot machine mentality. You pump quarters into it all night and not get anything out of it. Everybody rushes over to that machine because they think they're going to be the quarter that gets the big jackpot. So it's really, which a slot machine isn't analogous, but the water pump is, because the water pump is about building up pressure. And what happens is, eventually, when you have a pool of people that you're talking to, eventually they start to come in. Again, going back to that list that we talked about earlier, all you need is 1 plumber, 1 electrician, 1 landscaper, 1 painter, 1 floor guy, 1 carpenter, 1 tree guy, etc. And you get, 25 or 30 of 1 per category. You have a very robust co-op in your community. So it's about targeting and it's about following the process. Okay, so no additional questions. Let's move on to the sales presentation. And I broke this down into steps, all right? And I made it as simple as I could in the sales step process. Okay, the first step, by the way, is this full screen for you guys?
No.
No? Hold on a second.
No.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. Okay. So let's go with that then. I apologize. I didn't realize it wasn't full screen. So now I broke this down into 5 categories. The first category is the first step in the sales process is to make an introduction and get acquainted. This is where you are asking questions to learn about their business, to get information. Now, you don't want to just be saying, so what's your favorite color and what's your favorite ice cream? Because that's just, ridiculous. What you want to talk about is, when did you start your business? How long have you been doing this? What got you into this business? Get their history, their story. Let them tell their story. Because when they tell their story, they are now patterning and connecting themselves to you as a person. By doing that, they're going to feel compelled to listen to you when it's your turn to talk. So always lead and control the conversation by asking them questions about their business. I was just recently talking to somebody who said, yeah, we lost control of the conversation because we told them about our business first. And then they told us about their business and they were trying to sell us on their business. So by you leading and asking them about their business, and I've actually sat down with people, video and physically, and they said, tell me about your company. I say, with all due respect, I really want to know more about your company. And they'll go, oh, sure. And they'll start talking. So I always let someone else go first and tell me about their business, and I engage them. I also, when I say engage, I drill down on things they say. So they say, oh, I've been in the business for 30 years. Oh, really? What'd you do before that? Or if they're young enough, I'll say, where'd you go to college? So did you want to do this did you always want to do this? Or how did you kind of get into it? What's your favorite part about your business? What's your most challenging part about your business? What are the things that keep you up at night about your business? And they'll start to really get into what they do, and they'll give you the answers you want without them even knowing it. It's kind of like, it's what I call a selling hack, if you will. You're getting information without them even knowing they're giving you information if you ask the right open-ended questions. The other thing you want to be specific about is determine their goals. So what's your sales goal for the new year? Right now, it's a great question to ask. What percentage, I always say, so what's your sales goal? They'll say $1 million. So what kind of percentage growth is that? They'll say, oh, about 20%. So now what information have they just given me? They're doing about $800,000 in sales this year, and they want to grow to $1 million. So it's a way to kind of gauge without saying, hey, how much do you generate in sales right now? But by asking them the question, what's your goal? What kind of percentage increase is that? Now you can do the math and figure out where they are in sales. They say, hey, what's your goal next year? We want to do 100,000. What kind of growth do you figure that is? Well, it's about 80%. They generate about $20,000 in sales. They're barely covering any living expenses, let alone a real business. So it's a good way to get a sense of who they are as a business when you ask pointed questions, but futuristic. Does everybody follow that?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, what are they doing to achieve these goals is another question. That's an action question. What are you doing now to achieve those goals? Well, we pray on it a lot, or, we wrote them down and, we're hoping they come true. Sometimes you get really arbitrary stuff. Sometimes they'll say, well, we have this campaign running, we have this program running, we advertise here, we spend money on this, and then you can start to gauge what their appetite is for co-op advertising. Advertisers advertise. People who don't advertise don't advertise. So it's just one of those things that you look at and you get real answers from a question like, what are you doing to achieve those goals? The other thing is you want to ask them, would having more leads coming in be important to that objective? And of course the answer is yes. And then ask them the question, do you have the amount of local exposure that you need to achieve those goals? And they'll say, well, what do you mean? Sometimes they say yes, say great. What are you using to get exposure? If they say, what do you mean? Say, well, how do you use social media? How do you use reviews? How do you use your website? Do you use, email marketing or direct mail marketing? And asking them these kind of questions will help you identify what their needs really are. Okay, so it's all about getting them to give you the information so that you can drill down on what it is you're looking to get as a result. Okay. Any questions on that level of the activity, level of the sales presentation?
No.
None so far, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next step in the sales presentation is what we call the co-op sales presentation. And this is where we go into kind of the overview, not the meat and potatoes yet, but this is the commercial for what we're offering. We're going to advertise on Facebook and other social media platforms to generate over 50,000 impressions on targeted local consumers. They say, well, what do you mean by that? You can describe, well, we're going to run advertising that's going to get seen on social media by over 50,000, seen over 50,000 times in a month. And then as our advertiser co-op grows, with more local businesses advertising, we'll increase the ad spend to get up to about 300,000 impressions, which means local consumers will see the offer multiple times. And what we're going to offer is local consumers a chance to win a $1,000 shopping spree with advertisers in the co-op. And that $1,000 will be spent on a minimum of 10 advertisers in the market. If you're not sure what that means, go to the FAQs. It is explained in there. And then we're going to, when the consumers enroll, the local advertisers will be presented to them through the website, and also we're going to stay connected to them through email. All this information, every advertiser has a page that will be able to track its activity. So it might be 50,000 impressions, but you might be getting 25 or 30 clicks as an advertiser. Because again, think about Costco. They advertise Costco, come to the store and buy stuff. And people walk in, and not everybody buys tires. Not everybody buys snow blowers. Not everybody buys TVs, and not everybody buys bananas. It's what you're interested in. It's what you need at that moment. But they know the store is there for their next visit. And that's why having your advertising on the co-op will be front of mind for them to know you exist. And more importantly, when they need you, they'll know where to go to find you. Advertisers can offer special discounts, coupons, services if they choose or not. There's no contract. It's a month-to-month term. They can cancel at any time. And we do offer discounts for 6 and 12-month terms. There are 3 advertisers per category, no more. So 3 plumbers in household plumbing, 3 electricians in residential electrical work, that kind of thing. And we do offer exclusivity to the first advertiser in the market. So now they're going to say, so what do you get for that? And if they don't say it, you can say, let me tell you what you get for that. And we have 3 different packages. There's an exclusive package, a premier package, and a basic listing package. If you're not sure what's in them, go to the FAQs. That will explain what's in each package. Just as the emphasis for this video, the exclusive and premier listings, not only do they get all the things that it's in a basic listing, but they also get a video on their page, so they can send us the video, or we can interview them and have it more of an interview style promotional video that we add to their promotional page. And those 2, premier and exclusive, also get around 2,000 views per month exclusive to their ad. So we're going to run additional advertising that's exclusive to them. So they get the co-op advertising, and then there'll be an ad just for Luigi's Pizza, just for ABC Electric. That runs parallel and in addition to the co-op advertising. Okay, so please go to the FAQs, which are in the training section, and you'll be able to see everything that's in each of the different packages. But note that when you're presenting the packages, you're not giving the prices here. At this point, I always found it best to say, okay, so any questions on those packages? And they'll ask, what's the question they're going to ask? How much is it? How much is it? And at that point, you say, that's a great question. Now, I like to always give a price comparison. When they say, how much is it? Say, have you ever gone out and priced advertising like this before? They go, oh yeah, it's expensive. You're right. Magazine advertising, radio, TV, you know, if you put an ad in a magazine, you're there with 30 or 40 other advertisers, and maybe they see your ad once, but you can't really track how many people engage with it. So right now, and that can cost you $800 to $1,000 a month for a quarter-page ad, and more for a half or a full-page ad. You might spend $500 or $600 for a little business card size ad. In other words, you want to give some price comparisons when you're quoting pricing before you give our price. And then if we're still in pre-launch, meaning you haven't gotten your first 5 advertisers sold yet, if we're still in pre-launch, you can say we're now in pre-launch, and I explain that down here. Right now we're in pre-launch, which means you can get the very best pricing available for our exclusive ad. And I always give the exclusive ad first. Our exclusive ad on pre-launch is only $1,200 a month, and no other advertisers in your category will be in there. Or you can get a premier ad for only $600, or you can get the basic for only $350. And listen to how I said it, for only $350. And that way you're giving them the prices, and let them pick which one. Okay?
Bill,
Yes.
do those pre-launch prices extend to the length of the time they're with us?
Correct. That's one of the questions in the FAQs, Lenny. And the answer is yes. Stays with them for the life of the ad, unless they cancel. If they cancel and come back, it goes up to the standard pricing. Okay, so that's why we have that. That's a very special pricing. There's literally no profit margin in that for the company. After we, pay commissions, you get the $100 on the basic, and $200 on a premier, and $400 a month on the exclusive. So you get that for the life. Now you can have up to 10 on pre-launch pricing. After that, the first 10 get that pricing. We launch at 5, but you can give away another 5 after we launch for 2 weeks after you launch. Because sometimes you talk to somebody week 1, you launch in week 3, and in week 4 or 5 they come back, with making their decision. We don't want to say, oh, you can't get in, but you can't give more than 10 at the pre-launch pricing. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Then if they're not in pre-launch, you first want to offer the exclusive pricing, and then you want to offer the premier, exclusive or premier, depending on which is still available. And then you offer the basic in that sequence. So always start at the biggest price and go down to the least expensive. There are discount codes available. You'll find them in the FAQs on the last page. Those discount codes can continue with the price of the product with the extent of the ad. However, the discount codes are you discounting out of your commissions. Now, this is in place, and let me explain the philosophy here. We have costs, and then we pay a commission. If your best friend wants to advertise and you want to give them a special discount, they're not my best friend, they're your best friend. So you can give them the discount out of your commissions. There's a $25, a $50, a $75, and a $100 discount coupon. Once they get that coupon, they put that in, and they can have that discount for the term of that contract, for the term of that ad. Now, if you want to, you can say, I can give you a discount for the first month or the first 3 months, but you must communicate that when the order is placed to admin so they know how and when to put the ad cost back up to the regular price. Okay? So this is where you would quote pricing. So just to reiterate now on the presentation, you get to know them, you present the overview, you ask them, you ask questions, about any questions about that, you present the pricing, and then you close. Now, this is where most people lose sales. They present the pricing and say, so what do you think? And that is not a closing question. A closing question is, after you present the pricing, you say, which package appeals to you, the exclusive or the premier? That's a closing question. Or would you like to get the 6-month discount or the deepest discount on the 12-month plan? So they say, I like the premier, or we'll go with the basic. Say, great, would you like the 6-month or the 12-month discount? Now, that's only if the pre-launch pricing isn't available. If you're in pre-launch, you're saying, normally it's $2,000 and we'll do it at pre-launch for $1,200. Or the premier is normally $900 and we'll do it for $600 on pre-launch. Or the basic is normally $500, we'll do it for only $350. So it's quoting the prices, the existing prices for pre-launch. If you're out of pre-launch and you're at standard pricing, you say our normal price is $2,000 for an exclusive, $900 for a premier, and only $500 for a basic. Which package appeals to you? Great. We can offer 6-month and 12-month discounts, and you then read them the pricing based on the discounts. In the FAQs is a chart which offers all the pricing, laid out for each level and what the commissions would be for each level. Yes, Bob. Bob, did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard you there. Okay. If asked, can you cancel the 6 or 12-month? Of course they can cancel, but they pay 50% of the balance due. So let's say they cancel in month 8 on a 12-month process, they would pay for 2 out of the 4 months left. Okay, and that way it's a way of just kind of splitting the difference on the end. So what we do is we ask which package appeals to them. If they'd like to get an extended plan on a 6 or 12-month plan, we do offer discounts. Okay, then you say, which package do you like? They say, whichever package it is. You say, great. Okay, so customer, there's an application process to apply for approval. Would you like to submit that application today? And if approved, you'll get an invoice to pay online. Let's do this together. And then you go to this link, pull up the application. I don't think I'll be able to open it up and you'll see it because I'll have to switch screens. But you go to this link naolb.com/application. Click on the link, fill out the form with them. It'll take about 5 minutes to fill it out. And then once they get approved, they will get a link to pay online. Put
Joe,
their credit card in. Yes, Bob.
two-part question. What is the length of time for approval?
Bob,
Number one,
Bob,
and
Bob,
number two,
Bob, you're muffled. I couldn't hear you.
what is the length of time to get approved? And number two is, I'm assuming your lasers will be notified that they've been approved.
I couldn't hear the last part of that, number two.
I'm saying, number two, I'm assuming that the lasers will be notified by you that the advertisement.
Bob, I'm sorry, your audio is all muffled. I apologize. I can't. I think you're saying something about when does the laser get approved?
Okay, never mind.
Okay, it'll take, the amount of time it takes to get approval is usually 1 business day, if not sooner. And the laser will be notified, if that was your question.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, good. All right, so if they say they're not interested in anything, then you want to find out what the real objection is. And I always ask, so what's holding you back? Or I'll ask, what would it take to get you, for you to be interested? And this way you'll learn what the objection is. Now, to handle objections like a professional, there are 4 steps in handling objections. The first is to agree with them. I understand you've been burned before, and I can understand how advertising in that magazine or on the radio didn't get you anything, because it's really hard to track, isn't it? I understand that, but wouldn't you agree that if you had a way to really track it and not get tied into a long-term contract, that would be, and it showed as beneficial to your business, wouldn't that be something that you would then be glad you did? So would you like to go ahead and take this and give it a couple of months and see how it goes? And that's called closing again. So you agree with them, understanding their need or their concern. The transition is, however, could I ask you a question? And then you present logic, whatever the logic might be, to answer their objection, and then ask them to get involved again. The other thing you could do is you can say, I'll tell you what, how about in the first month, I give you a $50 discount off that basic listing. So it'll only cost you $300. Now that's coming out of your commission, but 50 is better than 0 in my book. So it's just a matter of offering them something in that first month to give it a try. Okay? And handling the objections can be done with virtually anything they say. And sometimes you'll go through the same 4 steps 4 or 5 times, answering all the different objections. But if they say they're not interested for whatever reason, and you don't know why, you're not giving yourself a fighting chance to close a deal. So some of the logic areas are, over 50,000 times, we'll have an offer to win $1,000 shopping spree to attract customers in your local community. Unlike traditional print ads, we push the message to where they are. While people are waiting to pick up kids sitting around the house, surfing Facebook, etc., they will see the ads. Local consumers will know you want their business. I said this once to a guy who was established in the 1800s. His family had been in town forever. And he says, well, we don't advertise. I said, you know what this word on the street is? People think you have so much money that you don't want any new customers. He said, sign me up. Because they definitely want new customers. But people on the street think that they have so much money, they've been around forever, that they don't need new customers. That was his pain point. only people in the community or that service area will see our ads. So there's no wasted exposure. A lot of times radio will get people all over the place, or newspapers will be in a wider area than the service provider provides. People won't drive past 5 pizza places to get to the one that's advertising. They go to the one that's closest. So this is going to be hyper focused on the local market that they serve. You know, people are also concerned about the uncertain times. You know, now it's time to hit the gas, not the brakes. And I use the analogy of going into a skid. When you're driving and you start to skid, you innately and instinctively turn the wheel into the skid, and instead of hitting the brakes, you hit the gas. That's how you drive out of a skid. And sometimes in business, sometimes you need to turn the wheel in another direction and hit the gas, not the brakes. So by painting that picture for them, that mental analogy, they in turn can see it in a different light. And also, it's the fear of loss is another way to close that deal by saying, look, Charlie, I know that you don't spend a lot of money on advertising, but you know, if you're not on this, XYZ or 123 will be. And do you want them to get all of the people who are on the co-op knowing that they want the business and you're not there to see it? I'm sure XYZ, your competitor, would love to be on the co-op if you aren't. And usually they say, well, can you keep them out? I say, well, typically you have to buy an exclusive to get that, but I'll give you my word, I won't call them. If they call me, there's nothing I can do about it, but I won't call them out of deference to you getting on as a pre-launch advertiser. I can tell you they won't be on in the first month for sure. So these are the things I say to people that are getting them to move forward. Okay, any questions on the sales presentation itself? Okay, great. So everybody see how it comes together? It's warm them up, get to know them, you know, engage them, present the overview, go over the packages, the benefits of the packages, answer any questions about the product itself before pricing. And I always say, other than pricing, do you have any questions? And they'll go, nope, just how much is it? Great. Let me, and then you go over the pricing. Okay. All right. At this point, we go through handling any objections, and you've got some talking points there as well. Okay. So, all right. Bob asked a question, what other social media sites? As we grow, we're going to add LinkedIn. We're going to add Instagram. We're going to add, it'll be Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'm not sure what else, but those are going to be the major ones. Okay, so let's talk about income projections at this point. Okay, so first of all, I want you to understand that understanding this is important. And I use a model. I use a model that will give you some insight into how I think. This is a crude drawing of a graph, okay? And on this graph, we have months at the bottom, okay? Now, you go through the months, there are 12 months in a year, correct? Now, let's call a sale a unit. There's one unit sold. We know that they're going to keep with us for some period of time. We're estimating an average of 6 months. Okay? Could be longer, could be less, but we're going to say an average of 6 months just for projection purposes. Now, if you get the same sale the second month, instead of having one, you have two. If you get another sale in the third month, you have three. Everybody follow that? So by the time you get to the sixth month, your graph looks like this. Everybody see that? So if you count the dots underneath this graph, there are 21 dots, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. There are 21 buying segments. Does everybody follow this?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Now, if you do this over the course of a year and somebody sticks with it for the year, there's 78 buying segments. So if we were to say there were one sale per day, remember that's what we were going for? One per day. That would be 20 in a business month. Okay. So if each one of these dots equals 20, that would be 20 times 21. There would be 420 sales or income generations in that first 6 months. Okay, so let me show you what that will look like in income, because if you have some sales at $100 and some sales at $200, and that is not even counting sales at the exclusive level, the average would be 150. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so if 10 of those sales are at 100 and 10 are at 200, you're generating $150 average. So we can say 420 times 150 is $63,000 generated in the first 6 months in income to the laser. All right, all of a sudden it gets really interesting. So let me show you what this looks like on a projection month by month. Now, I want to say that projections are projections for example purposes. They're not guaranteed. Results do vary, and I like to be very transparent in the fact that your individual results may vary. Okay, but as I said, 1 per day, 20 per month, with an average commission of 150. That'll generate $3,000 in income. So if you go out and follow the plan of calling 20 every day, following up with 20 every day, getting 5 good sales presentations done, and getting 1 sale a day. Everybody with me on this? Nod if you're with me. You'll generate $3,000 in month 1, $6,000 in month 2, $9,000 in month 3, $12,000 in month 4, $15,000 in month 5, and $18,000 in month 6. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty good income. Might not be for you, but for others it will be. Now, let me show you what happens if you just maintain that business, because some customers are going to drop out, and this is, selling 20 in month 1 and 20 in month 2, replacing any attrition and having 20 more in 3, and just keeping up with, if one drops out, one plumber drops out, you find another plumber. It's not like you can just stop at any point, because attrition will happen. But as you get to critical mass, you're going to see that if you maintain those sales at 18,000 a month, okay, and you had 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140 customers every month, generating $150 average, you're at $18,000 a month. So if you lose 20, you replace 20, and you stay with no growth. You lose 10, you replace 10. you can keep $18,000 a month. That's going to generate $171,000 in income in the first year. In the second year, if you just maintain the $18,000 a month for 12 months, it's $206,000 in the second year. Now, if you maintain what you have, let's assume that people don't drop out at high rates. It's a low attrition. Of course, there's going to be attrition, maybe 10%. Okay, it's going to drop out. I'm not talking about 100% attrition. I'm talking about maybe 10, maybe 15%. If you have a 10% growth, meaning you're recovering your attrition plus you're growing by I think 12 a month, I think that's what it works out to. You're going to generate 19,000 with a 10% growth and end the year at 28,000. That's $208,000 in income to the laser. But this is where it gets exciting, guys. You maintain what you had, it'll generate over $300,000 of income in the second year. Now, attrition does happen. Maybe you hire somebody to do your follow-up and new business. Maybe you spend the time just covering attrition, or you get somebody to cover attrition and you manage them. The option is yours. But this is how you generate over $200,000 of income by building, maintaining, and growing your business. And we're not talking about anything more than 20 calls a day, 20 follow-ups, 5 good conversations, 20 sales a month, and maintaining what you have. Hey, if your growth is 15% or 20% over your base, it goes up from there. And it continues to grow year over year. Okay. So all of this is in the document that I shared, that I will share with you. And hopefully you got some good notes from that. So I'm going to open it up to any questions. I am going to stop the record. I'll leave the recording on if there's any questions. Okay. Go ahead. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
As I'm sure most towns are, it takes about 25 minutes for me to get from where I live to the end of my town. Now, obviously, if it's a plumber, if it's a contractor, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
But even if, let's say, it's an Italian restaurant or a Mexican restaurant, I'm not going to drive a half hour to go to a Mexican restaurant, as you said.
Correct.
Is there any way to break that down by, like, there are 2 zip codes in my town?
Yeah, depending on
How
the
do we
size.
do that?
Depends on the size of the town. We could break it down by zip code. Yes. We could do.
Okay, well,
Anywhere USA East and West, we could break it down. But each co-op is separate.
okay, so we can break it down.
Yes.
Okay.
And just so you know, you need to have 5 to launch and 20 ads to jump. I'm going to call it a jump to the next co-op. So when you have 20 ads, those first 20 you got on your first co-op, you call them and see if they want to open up the second co-op. And then you need 5 to launch the second co-op. And they would be on pre-install pricing, pre-launch pricing. So
Okay.
my vision is an ambassador will have 3 or 4 co-ops with 30 ads each on those co-ops. Okay, and if you do the math, just to give you an idea, let's say you have 4 co-ops times 30 ads times 150 times 12, that's $216,000 in income.
Is that income willable?
You don't own it, no.
I'm sorry?
If somebody's going to take it over and manage it, yes.
Well, let's say I pass away, that's not willable to my heirs?
If they want to keep managing those accounts, sure. Otherwise, they'll just attrit. They'll just go away.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, is each co-op a zip code? No, Bob, each co-op is not a zip code. It depends on the size of the market. Like for instance, some towns might have 3 zip codes and be small enough to be one co-op. Other towns might have 4 zip codes and be 4 separate co-ops because it's a big city. So it depends on how it's laid out. Okay, good. Anybody else? Ben, do you have any questions? All right, I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it.